I'm sure by now, if you're a resident of North Alabama, you've seen the stories about what's happening in West Morgan, East Lawrence counties. A few weeks ago, the citizens, like my own family, were told the water was no longer safe to drink. We were given an EPA letter and a letter from our local water utility that said it would be better to use purchased water from any other source but our tap. You know, things happen, and you expect as a citizen that there are going to be problems and they'll be solved. And sure enough, about 2 weeks later, they gave an all clear symbol that we could go back to drinking the water from our utility. Unfortunately, they didn't share the rest of the story. You see, we were having PFOA and PFOS contamination for our local industry, probably coming from the Tennessee River. Because you see, here locally in the Decatur area, the state is licensing legally daily dumping of contaminants into the Tennessee River from a local utility. It's happening today. It happened yesterday. It'll continue to go on. The EPA is aware of it. The Center for Disease Control has been studying it for over decades. We know that contamination exists. We know that there are open dumps that have the sludge from industry waste. We know our local water system in the next town is actually dumping legally these things into the water. The governor's not declared a state of emergency. Well, that sounds pretty interesting. It sounds interesting because, one, we're being told the water's safe to drink, but the rest of the questions aren't being answered. Who's going to do the testing of the people who've been drinking contaminated water for years? When is someone going to stop the dumping into the river? How will we recover the land and the environment from the damage that's already been done and the damage that's currently happening? It's time for answers. You know, right now it's over 95 degrees in North Alabama. And many people, after reading the Center for Disease Control and the EPA responses to places where contamination exists in our fields, in our rivers, in our wells, in our waterways, don't feel safe drinking anything but bottled or prepared water from a cleared source. That water's not available to us from our water system. That water's not being provided by emergency resources such as the Superfund or such as the governor saying there's a disaster area. People are simply without, and we're talking 10,000 people. We have private donations and a few individuals who have helped us get water. The United Methodist Emergency Fund has been very good about offering water even after the city said we could go back to drinking the WMEL water. However, only about 390 families are able to be served once a week. We're told that pregnant women, women who are lactating or breastfeeding, young children should still not be drinking the local city water, but water's not being provided for them. We have elderly and infirm humans who are needing it for their food mixes, for children who are fed through a tube, for people who have breathing treatment machines. Water's not being provided for those medically fragile individuals. But more than that even, we have knowledge through reading the EPA and CDC's own reports, ongoing reports for over a decade, that this contamination continues. It has a half-life of 5 years in human if no further contamination is added to the water they're drinking. But we know that's not the case. It's in our river, it's in our soil, it's in our land, it's in our body, and it's in our future if something's not done. It's time to come together as a community. It's time to sign petitions demanding commitments from people to see why officials are allowing this to happen. It's time to demand that testing be done, that resources be provided to the citizens who have paid for water, for resources to be provided for testing for those already contaminated and their lands contaminated. It's time to demand that the river contamination be stopped, and that public and private organizations responsible for that contamination be held accountable. Please join us. Use hashtag WMEL water and hashtag AL water in your social media post. Come to the community meetings. They're being held weekly. There are several organizations: warriorsforcleanwater.org, the West Morgan East Lawrence Water Authority Grassroots Group, There are several others. Call the CDC, call the EPA, call your local, state, and federal officials. If you go to the websites that are available on these topics, you can find reports that already exist about what we're facing. And if you go to Facebook at facebook.com, WMEL, Water News, you'll find updates for information, everything from where private industry and citizens are donating water for families, to updates and information from the EPA, to concerned citizen requests, to petitions to sign. We need your help. Thank you.